Stop that. Go. Please join me in the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We have a hearing scheduled at 7:15 tonight, so we'll have to stop for that. Lisa, do you want to do your financials?
Sure. December 2024 financials was emailed year-to-date reports. The November bank reconcile is up there for signature. Approval of warrants and vouchers, starting with warrant number 13751 through warrant number 13763. Voucher number 193-2024 through voucher number 198-2024. Total amount is $100,868.44.
Motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
To approve the 2025, I almost said 24, temporary appropriations effective April the 1st, 2025 with the following totals.
January the 1st.
January the 1st, what did I say?
April.
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. So the total 2025 temporary appropriations will be $5,368,548.35.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Probably roll call vote, please.
Jackson.
Aye.
Holiday.
Aye.
Trainer.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Approve the 2025 annual POs and VCs effective January the 1st, 2025.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Approve the UAN automatic signatures for trustees and fiscal officers, automatic signatures on 2025. Electronic payments, POs, BCs, then and now POs. Retroactive date, December the 7th, 2024. Also, the fiscal officer added her signature to receipts only. And I will still bring electronic payments to the board meeting for review. Warrants will be signed by the trustees and.
I might have missed the conversation on that. Is that a system that we're using, a software system or something that we're using? Okay,
That's right.
I got you. And so I don't,
So
pretty far above reproach for, right.
Can't get the reorg.
Okay, got it. I move to approve the usage of electronic signatures through UAN. Second.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Approve accepting only online payments or money orders or cashier checks for the Grange Hall rentals made to Harlem Township effective immediately. We had a situation that people can write checks to you, and then before your bank pays it out, you can restrict it until you check it. And somebody canceled and it cost us $15. So I would like all Grange Hall rentals, point and pay. We can, if they cancel, we can reimburse them right away through point and pay. If they pay through point and pay.
You want to go digital and like pre-certified only, or would you still want to accept cash payments for some of these things?
No, we do not accept cash.
Right.
Because you can't trace it, the auditor can.
Right. Motion to approve online payments, pre-certified payments only for Grange Hall rentals.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Approve cash in lieu payment of $288.13 for James Steelsmith through our payroll system to be included on his regular paycheck. And will be taxable income, however, will not be subject to pension deduction, or will it be included as pensionable wages. The effective date will be January's 2025 second pay for reimbursement of outside obtained health insurance premium costs.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Approve cash in lieu of payment for David Jackson in the amount of $288.13 paid once a month and will be taxable income. However, will not be subject to pension deduction nor be included as pensionable wages. The effective date will be January 2025. Second pay for reimbursement of outside obtained health insurance premium costs.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Jackson.
Abstain.
Aye.
Trainer.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Now, I'd like to discuss about zoning commission and BZA payroll.
Okay.
The zoning payroll I received is an email with a list of names and how many meetings each member attends for the year. Payroll schedule doesn't match up with December meetings. How can we prepay someone and hope they make it to the December meeting? Last year, members were paid the last payroll of December of 2023. I was notified in January that one of the members didn't receive his pay of $120 and another wasn't supposed to be paid. It cost the township over $1,100 to correct all the taxes, including federal, state, and local, Social Security, amend 2 W-2s, print and mail the corrected check out. Mike Cannon and I discussed paying the members the first pay in December. So if corrections needed done, then we would still have the last pay in December. If the members were direct deposit, then they could have reviewed their pay stubs online and let me know right away before the fourth quarter taxes were filed. Payroll was held up this time because a member didn't fill out paperwork. Valerie and Ashley tried for a few months to contact this member. Finally, on December the 4th, Ashley received the answer that the member donated the 3 attended meetings instead of filling out an employee packet. Since now it's 5 members because Mike Habler is going to go to direct deposit. Do not have direct deposit as of yesterday. Correction, today, we are still waiting on their payroll checks to come through the postal service. All members, all employees, and all the boards have direct deposit except for 5 members. In the last 4 years, we've had 6 different zoning assistants, including Ashley. It seems like we invest a lot of time and effort every year for this once a year payout. The solution is effective immediately. All paid employees, board members will set up direct deposit. I will help the 5 people set up their accounts and direct deposit in the payroll system. Then they can look at their pay stubs and retrieve their W-2s online. Effective immediately, we will calculate meetings from December the 1st through November the 30th every year. So when we have a new zoning assistant, it will be consistent on how meetings are paid out year to year. We will not prepay an employee or board member for meetings that are scheduled in December as in the past. Current employees are paid 2 weeks in arrears. So every year, some of our December hours are paid in the new year. If someone is appointed for any paid position on the board, it is mandatory for that person to complete the necessary paperwork within a reasonable time. If not, then at the next trustee meeting, I think we need to retract their appointment. That's it.
Okay.
Thoughts?
I think the only thing I'm confused about is the time frame that's established in solution number 2, December 1st through November 30th. Help me understand that a little bit. That could just be me.
So there's meetings in December.
Sure.
And in the past, we have prepaid them, hoping that they showed up.
Why would we do December different than any other month?
What do you mean?
Like, are there not meetings in the rest of
There
the
is
calendar year?
meetings in December,
But
like
what
one
about
or two.
January through November?
and then January through November. So we would start their new payroll for 2026 from December the 1st to November the 30th.
Because you're paying
And
it
then
out in
pay
January?
them out the first pay in December. Yeah, they get one paycheck a year.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Joni, you had something?
I just wanted to mention, I'm one of the people who does not do direct deposit. And
Okay.
that is mainly because it is my understanding that local governments are frequently hacked. And that is one more piece of information that I don't really want hackers to have as my bank account.
Well, we've had this cloud payroll system for over 3 years and not one person's had a problem with it.
No,
Of being hacked or anything, it's very secure.
right.
It's a third party, right? It's not proprietary, right? It's just a
Yeah.
third party.
It's a payroll company, so.
Right, so there's bigger bonding and insurances that
Yeah.
would support that, not the township themselves.
And
So you're asking for a motion or this is
Yeah.
gonna be your policy?
yes, well, I would like to do both. I would like the support of the trustees.
Okay,
Because we have put a lot of time into figuring out where these 5 checks are, making sure everybody has the correct meetings, and I don't know what to do or how to do the process a little easier, because every year it's something.
right. Any discussion then?
I'm in support of Lisa's homework here. I think she's done due diligence.
Yeah, I agree because I'm familiar with the case she was talking about, just getting the information from the person and it went back and forth for months. So,
And I think it's time that all our employees, it's 2025 almost, it's time to
Yeah.
enter almost the first
Yeah.
quarter of the 21st century, so.
have a motion to
I'm
instigate,
move in support of
plan.
Lisa's
proposal
new proposal. Yes.
or second.
I would second, do we have a specific resolution on this?
No, we do not. It's not on the agenda. It's, an extra thing tonight. With the timeliness of the end of the year, I think it's probably good that we do it.
Well, we're still waiting on, like I said, their paychecks to come in the mail, and it's postal service.
Okay.
So this actually,
So you want to do this on the reorg then or
No,
not?
because I want to start the payout of December the 1st
Okay,
through November the 30th for next year.
okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think realistically here, we're just talking about a township operations issue, right? We're not talking about any additional expenditure. I think if anything, it would save us money.
It would save us money because they charge us to print it and to mail it to us.
Sure. So being good stewards of it, I don't know that a resolution is required, but I mean, we could probably bring one at the next conversation. I just say in this point, it's official support of making that the SOP.
So we're good on doing this.
That would be my
Yep,
position.
I am.
All of it, okay,
Yep,
all right,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
okay.
720 day.
Yeah, at this time we'll recess the business portion and Adam, you want to take over for this hearing?
Sure. So at this time, we'll bring to motion the zoning hearing for the resolution 24-1218T-001 approval of zoning application HTZC 24-09 for David and Belinda Jackson. We are going to make a motion to recess this hearing until January the 8th, 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon, just to make sure that we do the due diligence in posting the hearing with appropriate time schedules. Any discussion on the recess motion? So at this time, I would make the motion to recess until January 8th, 2:30 p.m. Is there a second?
I second.
Can we get a roll call on that, Ashley?
Yes. Jackson,
Abstain?
Holiday,
Aye.
Aye.
Recessed until January 8th. And then I would make a motion to resume the regular business.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay,
Unanimous.
While we're in the zoning, you want to set these hearings?
Probably look at the calendar.
I think it's gonna be the 15th,
That's the next regular, right?
right? Got 13 days left in this month. Yeah, we'd be good on days.
Sure, you want me to run through them?
Sure.
Resolution 24-1218T-002, receipt of zoning application HTZC 24-11. Make a motion to receive said application, amendment of zoning articles 4, 5, 6, 10. Somebody's gonna have to help me on my Roman numerals. 18, 20, and 21. The DCRPC met on this application November 21 of 24. And then made the recommendation to the trustees on December 2nd. We would set this hearing on January 15th, 2025. And what, Dave?
15.
Say it again, I'm sorry. 7:15,
7:15.
right? Yeah. 7:15 PM.
I second.
Roll call, Ashley.
Jackson,
Aye.
Holiday.
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 24-1218T-003, receipt of application HTZC 24-10, amendment zoning article 36. I would move to receive that application. DCRPC made on this application November 21st, 2024, made the recommendation to the trustees on December 9th of 24. We would set that hearing for January 15th, 2025 at, how much time do we need to allow for the previous?
Yeah, let's just do 7:30 if the overlap's okay.
At 7:30 PM.
Second.
Roll call vote, Ashley.
Aye.
Holiday.
Aye.
Aye.
Passes. Roll into trustee business, Dave.
Yeah, Pete is here to speak to the trustees.
Hi, Pete.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good.
Good.
Stand anywhere or?
Just
At
right
the
there so I
podium.
can hear you.
On the spot.
Good evening.
Evening.
Well,
Let me introduce, I invited, Pete to come this evening. As the township has wrestled with the concept of TIFs, for several months now, and we have, passed a TIF, commercial TIF over what we would call at-risk areas of the township that kind of are on our borders. There's been discussion of, the concept of township-wide TIF or of the need to pass further TIFs. And I'm aware that some townships do this. They pass a TIF over their entire community. And so I would love for you to speak to that, number one. And then secondly, just because you're aware of not only Harlem Township, but surrounding environs, kind of your understanding of development pressures that are currently at large, and also annexation pressures that you're aware of, that we should be aware of as a township, from your perspective. And just, you might remind us of where else you are involved, that gives us an understanding. That gives us an understanding of
Sure.
your expertise, which I think is important here.
sure. So let's start with the TIF question, because we've been batting that around here internally, and I think you guys have some level of knowledge. You know, everywhere is different, right? So what I will say, from my perspective, those townships that just simply decide to TIF everything. I think part of it is simplicity. That they're not sure. And they just want to get it done. And they want to get it done quickly. And they're not quite sure where the annexation threats or pressures are coming from. So some folks just find it just easier to tip the whole thing. I would say that's probably, in the grand scheme of things, in my involvement, is probably not as typical. I would say what's more typical from my perspective are targeted TIFs. TIFs that like you guys have done along your borders to target against, and again, you all know that it doesn't stop annexation, but it may get you a seat at the table in terms of a development that comes in through annexation. So I think that's a reason. That's what I see probably more often than just a complete commercial TIF across the entire township. The other situation I will see is where we have a targeted area that we're trying to encourage economic development, and we're really sure as to what those land uses are, that we may already have centralized utilities to that site. I've had some clients that have put a TIF in place on that. I would probably say what's most common is kind of a wait and see approach. Like, so if I have a developer that approaches me as a township and says, hey, we have utilities, we like your zoning, we're going to come in under a PD or an overlay or whatever. Now we need to talk about how we're going to fund the public improvements. And so there's a conversation with a developer that can include a multiple economic development incentives, NCA, a TIF, a JET, whatever the case may be. That is probably the most typical situation, and probably it depends on who you are. Some probably view that the most appropriate way to use a TIF. But so very broad spectrum of situations. And again, everybody's different. But what I would say from my perspective is, I know we were concerned here about annexation. I think you've taken that step with the TIF to protect those areas. Certainly if we have somebody, a developer or somebody that comes in that is not in a TIF area, I think the fact that you have TIFed areas they're going to know to approach you. They're also probably the first thing going to try to figure out is the zoning piece, which at that time, I would hope there would be a conversation about, is this a project that we want to look at, tipping, and then working with the developer based upon that most common scenario that I just described. So I unless there's a pressing need to tip the rest of the township, I mean, and again, this is a policy decision. This is not really a legal issue. You certainly can. I just not sure, why you want to, or but it's a policy decision.
Can the developer put the TIF on?
No,
Okay,
no.
what about county?
The county could. Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. I don't know if Delaware County is in the business of running around putting TIFs everywhere. That could certainly be a conversation that you have with the county commissioners. Like I said, I know we've got a lot of clients in Delaware County and more recently, I mean, they're all doing TIFs of varying degrees. And I'm not seeing any pushback from the county at all on those issues. In fact, some of them, there's a conversation about, TIF dollars going to the county engineer for road improvements and things like that. So, but I think that question could very easily be answered by a conversation.
Yeah, I've spoken to each of the commissioners, and there is not an appetite for coming in and tiffing over a township. I think there's much more of a collaborative spirit.
Yeah.
On that side of the table. And historically, I think that's the case as well.
Yeah, I have had situations, not in this county, but other counties, where there's an absolute dogfight between a county and a township. I've had that, but my understanding and from what I've experienced here in Delaware County, that's not the case. So
I've got one area that I'm kind of concerned about, and that's the northeast corner, because that's industrial and, with the kind of uses that the zoning office has been getting inquiries about, they wouldn't need sewer, they could do on site to get them by.
Okay.
And with that use could happen. Their biggest issue would be power, which who knows what AEP is going to do.
So in that situation, if they're already zoned appropriately and they don't need centralized utilities, they can do it all on site. Theoretically, nothing would stop the township from tipping that parcel. You don't need the property owner's consent.
But
Yeah.
typically, isn't this developer driven or developer driven?
Yeah, typically what you're talking about is expending funds that
As opposed to the,
are for, or to generate public,
right,
expending funds for collecting funds to expend for public infrastructure improvement that benefit the TIF area, not the parcel, but the TIF area. So you may have a situation if an industrial use goes in and you may need some road improvements that surrounding that area. And if no governmental entity is making the developer do those road improvements, which may not be the case if they're already zoned appropriately, then that could be a situation where you may want to implement a TIF and help you with those road improvements. But it's not, that doesn't happen very often. But the answer to your question is yes, it's typically developer driven unless there's the annexation issue that you're looking to deal with.
right. So it would be developer driven. A conversation occurs with the
Yeah.
township and you collaboratively implement this economic tool
Correct.
versus the township preemptively prescribing the economic tool.
Yeah, so you're right. So typically, again, when a project is going on, there is a conversation on incentives, right? And typically you're discussing public infrastructure improvements on the site, around the site, and there is typically a development agreement that outlines the developer's responsibility, what they have to do from a public improvement standpoint, how those improvements are going to be funded. It could be that the developer is going to take the risk and finance those improvements, and there may be a reimbursement of varying degree of TIF funds back to the developer who is financing those public improvements. That's a fairly typical example. In Union County, Jerome Township has a TIF over their innovation district along Industrial Parkway, And they are building a new road from 161 all the way up to Warner Road. It's gonna be, when it's done, it's gonna be like $12 million road. And it is actually being, most of it is being financed by a developer. And the township is issuing bonds as well for a portion of it, but there's a reimbursement agreement. The developer is financing another half of it. Bonds are going to be paid for the other half. And the agreement with the developer is that they will be reimbursed certain monies back to them for their financing costs. Not for the whole road, but just for a portion of it that they're building. So that's an example of how TIFs work and in the conversation you typically have with the developer.
If a developer, let's call it commercial or industrial in this scenario, wanted a piece of annexable land, didn't feel like dealing with the township, decided to just buy it, cross the line.
Yep.
There's nothing the township could do about a situation like that because that's up to the property owner.
Yep.
What if that piece of property was already tiffed by the township?
Yeah. So this is not the legal, not a legal term, it's a term I use. It just kind of mucks it up. Because if that project needs TIF funds, then there's more than likely going to be a conversation between the entities about what happens with the township TIF. Now, that doesn't mean that the municipal TIF may not win the day. It just depends on timing. But I represent a few townships that border Huber Heights down in the Dayton area. And Huber Heights is anything like crazy. And the township had a TIF, and Huber Heights went ahead and annexed a big portion of it. But the township was able to effectuate their TIF. And by doing that, we are working on a CETA with Huber Heights. That I think if it goes as I think it will basically we'll release our TIF, allow that area to be in Huber Heights, conform the boundaries, but then have a no annexation provision in the CETA that prohibits Huber Heights from annexing any more land from the township. So what I tell people is that is the only way to stop annexation, is to come to an agreement with those that can annex you, either in the form of a CETA or a annexation agreement under the annexation laws.
But in that situation, you got to have that conversation because the TIF was in place.
That helped because the developer needs a lot of money because they have to extend all the pipes. So they're going to use a lot of that money
Sure. So
to extend the pipes.
annexation, kind of a buzzword in Harlem Township this year,
Yeah.
right? So like that's
Yeah.
when that typically gets people's interest. And so, if I was in a position where I was trying to represent the people of the township and they say that they want to try to prevent annexation wherever possible, would it be your opinion that a TIF in certain areas or the entire township would be a vehicle to try to prevent annexation where possible?
It would slow it down but also potentially stop it. But
yes.
but it's only going to stop it to the extent that the property owner comes to the township really, and tries to get the TIF lifted or the city, but or the village. But yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a piece to the puzzle.
Sure.
In order to preserve the township. You're already doing some great things with holly and overlays. And again, it's a piece to the puzzle. And what I tell people though is, if you're just simply implementing a TIF and doing nothing else, that's probably the worst thing you can do. So you need to put all these pieces together,
Yeah.
and ultimately, hopefully try to, by by reaching out to regional partners, developing an approach that preserves all the township if we can get it, most of the township, you know, and all those conversations that occur. And, you know, we did some great work in Jersey Township, and I'm really proud of that CETA that we did with the city of New Albany, because I think it's reflective of good regional cooperation and land. It has land use in it and economic development tools and all that stuff. That's where we ultimately need to figure out how to get to.
So when it comes to the topic of can TIFs be beneficial to the township,
I think they can.
in specifically in some kind of annexation scenario, it's usually to the benefit of the township, not the developer.
Doesn't hurt anything, but you're
Doesn't
right.
hurt anything.
Yeah.
I'll take that. So let's talk. I mean, it's definitely a puzzle piece, right? Lots of
Yeah.
pieces we're putting together. I think taking a strategic, to use John's word, approach to where we put TIFs, right? Like especially coinciding with our overlays is super important because we know that there's particular interest in particular parts of the township because of particular development going on in other municipalities. I think that makes sense. So, but one of the things that I'm curious about is you said that it's not the typical approach to just do a sweeping, you know, township wide one, because unless you're like in a big hurry or you're just trying to be simple or this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
I'm curious specifically if there is a reason not to do that.
The only thing I can think of is if you don't have those pressures, why, you know, what, I'm not sure why you would just go ahead and do it
But
without,
why would we not?
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure it's needed.
I maybe so.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
So,
is there a detriment to the citizens? Is there a detriment to the township? Is there any sort of downside to it?
so, you know, I started off by saying a lot of this stuff is not legal questions,
Sure.
it's more policy decisions. So I think that, you know, we have to make sure that we're communicating with our stakeholders as well. Some people may take offense to.
Sure. So let me jump in there real
To
quick.
that,
And so
yeah.
let's imagine this scenario where we had already talked to some of the external stakeholders, like the school system.
Yeah,
Explained to them what our vision was and
Yeah.
where we were trying to go with this. And there was not really a whole lot of concern there.
yeah.
What other stakeholders could possibly take some kind of offense to this action other than people that might also have tiffing capabilities over the township land?
Probably nobody.
Okay,
I mean, probably nobody. It's just school is who I was.
right. And I agree.
Typically.
That would be the
Yeah.
nearest and dearest to my heart as
Yeah.
well. Would
Yeah.
definitely not want to be doing anything detrimental to the schools.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing, and just again, trying to be a voice of
Sure.
the township this year, right, is if we want to try to do something to prevent annexation, a TIF is a great way to move in the right direction to prevent that, or at least give us a seat at the
You've
table.
already done, right?
In some areas,
Yeah.
sure, in some areas. And then and then based on this conversation, there is no good reason that we can think of to not TIF a large portion of the township proactively, especially if we've
Yeah.
already consulted with external stakeholders.
I mean, again, I can't think of anything.
I'll tell you that. And can I take that question a little bit further and ask you, is there any reason why we should not try to just hurry up and do it?
I mean, I can't really think of it. I mean, you definitely have the authority. You know, if that's what you feel is necessary, again, that's a policy decision as if that's where you want your focus to be right now. I don't, you know, I can't sit here and tell you that you're wrong.
I think, you know, I speak for myself, but I think I represent, you know, the rest of the board in saying that what we want to focus on is trying to protect the township,
Yeah.
or at least guide the township in the right direction to the best of our abilities.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think, you know, we don't know necessarily what that looks like. I think, you know, if you did a survey of 100 people in Harlem, you'd probably get 100 different results of what the future of Harlem Township looks like or what preservation of Harlem looks like. But I think when we talk about what are some of the best moves that we can make at this point in time to position ourselves in a best position of strength, I think that's what I'm curious about. you know?
Yeah, and I think if it's me, um, I think having the conversations with regional partners and trying to figure out how I can utilities are going to be an important factor. How are we going to get utilities? And then also having those conversations, trying to draw the line in the sand on our borders that you all are not going to annex us. So I think having to me, that is, I just came from Lancaster and met with township trustees. And I told them there's the only way that you will stop annexation is the CETA that we're working on, or a annexation agreement. Okay, that's the only way that you're going to stop annexation. And to me, that is not only the most difficult step to take, but it's also the most important one. So, look, I can't tell you that not, because I have clients that are next door to here that, I mean, we all read the Gazette. They TIF the entire township. There's townships in Licking County that did the same thing. I think it's what you all as leaders of the community feel are best. But I do want to stress that it's a piece. And I think the most important thing that you need to be working on right now, because you've done a lot of good things here. I think now you need to start shifting that focus towards building that regional cooperation and trying to work on, CETAs or intergovernmental cooperation agreements or whatever the case may be. That's what I think you all need to be working on. I can get
Make a statement.
Sure, noted.
The one thing I would respond to your question with is, there's a project that I'm working on in another county with a township. And there's 812 acres, and they only needed to work on one portion of that project at that time. They were working with the school district to negotiate a 30-year non-school TIF because the 30-year was going to bring in more money.
Mhm.
They were having some concerns with the school district in making that negotiation. So they ultimately thought about going to a 1075 with the township, because then don't have to have the school's permission. So I'm just wondering, and this might be a question to ask Pete, of if we were to do a township-wide TIF and not just in the strategic places where we are concerned about annexation, would we limit ourselves from entering into a 30-year county TIF? I understand it's county, but would generate more funding for improvements.
Yeah, I mean, no, you can always go back.
But would we can go back, but would the school be upset that we put the 10-year and didn't include them?
If we do a 1075,
Yeah.
the school is going to be upset.
Yeah, right. So then does that limit us from negotiating with the school on a 30-year because they're upset with it?
I guess,
There's ways to, well, yeah, I mean, so I see what you're saying. There's always ways to, even if there's a 1075, and then somewhere down the line, you do a 30, there's always ways to get the school district the money that they're, or would have been entitled to. But if it creates some sort of,
That's more of a political, not
Correct.
necessarily getting the money.
but that's why I
It's just
mentioned the
creating
stakeholder issue.
political
earlier.
tension, again, it's bringing us back to that whole.
which would be why we had the conversation ahead of
Yeah.
time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why we already did it. You know what I mean? So like, having that conversation, I think that there were some more questions that came up when it came around to actually putting pen to paper. But I think, coming from a school's point of view too, there's also a point of reference there of whether or not this development's actually going to put additional children in desks. Right. So then, from a school point of view, like that's going to be a factor that I'm going to consider into how big of an issue I have with this TIF that goes through. But, these are things that we can think about. To me, I had, when, coming into this conversation, two things that I'm trying to figure out, because I'm still, right, until now, I think it's been super foggy because nobody could give me a reason not to do it. And where we're at right now, I haven't heard one.
Yeah.
Right. Other than the the perception of external stakeholders. Two specifically, one of which we had already talked to. Okay. So then the other thing that I was trying to figure out, is there a reason in which we should be concerned about the speed at which we act on this? And I'm hearing no reason not to.
Yeah, I mean, well, and that's the other side of the equation. If there's no annexation threat there, I don't know what the hurry.
Why wait for there to be a threat?
Yeah, I mean,
Because it is developer driven, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm a developer and I just happen to know somebody that is in another TIF authority, maybe I'll just talk to the guy I know. I'm just, that's kind of that political stuff you're talking about, right? And maybe we don't want to go down that road, but I guess I'm just saying an ounce of prevention can probably go a long way in a scenario like this. So again, just recapping what I've heard, there's not a reason not to move forward with it, whether it's township wide or in a targeted area, because it doesn't hurt the residents. It's not residential. And there's no reason to drag our feet with it. There's no reason to wait. There's no reason to be reactive with it. We can be proactive with it. Would you guys say that those statements are true?
yeah, I mean, there's no legal reason why.
Okay.
I mean, you have that authority. It's really just boils down to ultimately a policy decision.
Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
When you create a TIF for that's developer driven, so for an area that a developer has decided, hey, I'm gonna.
Yep.
Are there's a, I would assume there are parts of that TIF that are unique to that project? Or is there, or does it just come under this township-wide TIF?
No, so what would happen would be, we would have you would activate, if you have a township-wide TIF and there's a parcel that is going to develop, you would activate that parcel.
But what if it's not township-wide? What if you haven't TIFed that area, the developer comes to you and wants to create a TIF for that particular development? Are there factors or of that TIF that are unique to that development?
No,
Or is it just like every other TIF area in the township?
it's really like every other TIF area. So if you had a blanket TIF, you could activate it on that parcel. If you didn't have a TIF at all, and the developer comes in and you wanted to TIF that parcel, it's the same thing, and you're going to have the same conversations.
Okay.
Ultimately we'll probably end with a development agreement.
So the same percentage of funds are going to go to
Whatever you negotiate. Yeah.
for each development or for the entire township? This is my question. Is each TIF area unique in distribution
It has
of
to
resources?
benefit the TIF area. That is.
That's not the answer to my question.
Okay.
So these funds are divvied up by percentage, right, to various infrastructure, correct?
Can be, yeah.
So the TIF agreement that I have for area A doesn't necessarily look like the TIF agreement I have for area B.
That could be the case.
Okay, and see, that's why I think it's important to recognize there's a reason why these projects are developer driven, because they're unique. And this is where it's different than a township-wide TIF that is uniform over the township. Or is it the case that even though we have a township-wide TIF, that then each project is then negotiated separately?
That's what I'm trying to tell you. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, having an overarching TIF over the entire township, you
Doesn't-
do not have to, it's not automated.
Yeah.
It can be a la
Got
carte.
it.
So the Jerome Township, Union County example that I gave you, two blanket TIF, two of the parcels were activated. And we negotiated with the developer with respect to the public infrastructure they were going to have to undertake, what we were going to reimburse. And then we do have a few parcels where developer didn't want any reimbursement for anything.
Yep.
And so all those monies just flow into a TIF fund that can be used to benefit the entire TIF area. But normally you're going to, on a parcel by parcel basis, even if you have a blanket TIF, negotiate the deal for that project.
So when I talk to external stakeholders, whether it's a municipality or people in the county or et cetera, and you toss out the idea of township-wide TIF, there's like a rolling of the eyes, and a sigh. Can you speak to that?
Well, I think some people just think it's an overreaction, a knee-jerk reaction. I mean,
But a lot of
but
those
again,
are-
I mean, I think that's some perspective. I think there are some municipalities that feel that it's not going to stop them from annexing it. They've got other tools that are available as well to them. So, you know, I'm sure if you know, if you go to a municipality and say, well, I've tipped everything and you're not going to be able to annex it, they probably would roll their eyes. Right?
Yeah, you'll
I
hear,
mean,
as I said to you previously,
And
well,
there's
a municipality TIF trumps a
well,
township.
yeah, and that gets, and not necessarily is always
Yeah.
the case.
Yeah.
Right. But, look, I mean, it is definitely a policy driven decision. And that's why I kind of wanted to tell you all the different types of situations that, you know, I've dealt with. You know, in terms of development pressures, annexations, I mean, you guys, know, up here, you know, I know there's always been, or at least recently, there's been, you know, conversations about New Albany and they're gonna run, you know, all the way to Newark and City of Columbus and this and that. And, you know, I think New Albany's willingness to work with Jersey kind of shows where they're headed. I don't see, I know there's still a little bit of cleanup that has to be done in terms of annexation out there, but I think they're pretty much content. What I will tell you is that Columbus, at least from my perspective, it's been kind of fascinating to see their philosophical approach over the years to annexation, because, you know, probably the first 15 so years of my career, it's been what they call the Sensenbrenner policy. You need utilities, you're annexing, no questions asked. And you've seen a shift. And then, so recently we've had a few townships in Franklin County where we're able to secure utilities without annexation through an agreement with the city of Columbus. But at that time, it was only for residential properties. So they were focused on commercial, industrial, building that tax base. There's no money in residential, right? You'll hear people say that all the time. It doesn't pay for itself typically. And then COVID hit, and then Intel was announced. And since then, you see Columbus, I think their focus has shifted to infill within. Now, I'm not saying they're never going to annex, right? But I think their focus now is on infill. I don't think they're not worried about grabbing land to build, their words, affordable housing. What you see all the legislation coming out and all the things that they're doing. They are focusing on internal affordable housing within the city of Columbus. And and again, I've got another deal that I'm working on that hopefully will extend utilities without annexation. Which if you'd have told me that in my first 15 years of my career, I'd have laughed at you. So that is kind of, at least to the south of you guys, what I'm seeing. I think Holly would probably kind of agree with that. Now, Johnstown's a wild card in my opinion. I don't, I represent all the townships around them. So I don't know what they're doing. So not sure they know, but
We got one question, Steve.
Because I got a scoop.
Sure.
Okay. Steve Eisenbrow, 4909 Harlem Road. I guess two thoughts. In some conversations I've had with a couple of other township trustees in the general Columbus area, one of the things when we've talked about, TIFs and the like, and they've been in active areas that are fighting annexation routinely, is what people look for are townships that seemingly have their act together. And so and they would say the combination of what we've done with the overlays and getting those laid out in such a constructive manner. And then as you start to put in the TIF infrastructure, as you say, Peter, it may not block anything, but it demonstrates the township's not a bunch of bohicks out here that just can't even spell it, right? That we have done strategic planning to an extent that we've put some really good tools in place. And so that's one reason not to delay, is to continue to demonstrate that we can move things forward in this township. Secondly, my belief is, whether total or not, I think maybe the common sense approach here is to look where we're continuing to protect our boundary areas with the overlays. And at minimum, make sure those areas, and Dave, you mentioned the area, in the Northeast, have those areas covered, so that as we have a line of defense that is being used as a combination of what the overlay provides, and we also simultaneously demonstrate a TIF area with it, it gives us more talking points to get us to the table. So those are my two comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you
That it?
very much.
All right.
Appreciate your time.
Good seeing you guys.
Ditto.
We're 4 minutes over. Sorry. I told him he'd be out by 8.
I'll take an 8 o'clock night.
All right.
So would we.
You guys, thanks again.
Have a good
See you.
evening.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, discussion on the TIF.
Yeah, it's very good. Very good discussion.
I would still, like I say, like to at least get that northeast part done.
After tonight's discussion, I concur. I think that would be a good move.
We should have told Pete to get it ready.
Send
We'll let Jim do that.
send him an email.
Well, we'd have to do the 14-day notice, which we could do.
January 15th.
Yeah. Okay. Trustee business, I'm working with county, and also Jason is too. We're considering strong possibility of doing driveway permits. We've the guys have been over the years, even when Bart and Otis were here, spending quite a bit of time. We were doing a no fee permit, and they were expending the time and having to do a double back to inspect it and so forth. So we're gonna get the information together, and maybe organizational meeting, I'll have that. John, you want to talk about the tuition?
Yeah, this has come up as an opportunity for us to invest in our employees. And so we mentioned this perhaps last trustee meeting, and Lisa was kind enough to send me Genoa's employee handbook that has a reimbursement policy. And so I sent that to both Adam and Dave. And just to highlight it, it says that full-time or salaried employees are eligible for up to a maximum of $6,000 per calendar year reimbursement. The courses must be taken by an approved or accredited institution. The coursework must be approved, so the courses would be submitted to the trustees. We would approve the said courses. Course attendance would be mandatory, and there are fees that are ineligible, so we're not paying for books or paper or other kind of stuff, just for the tuition. The student has to maintain a grade of at least a B to be reimbursed. The reimbursement will be made within a reasonable period of time. If the employee resigns or is discharged prior to the completion of 3 years of continuous active service, following the completion of any coursework, then the tuition reimbursement is repaid to the township. So when you're reimbursed, you're saying, I'm gonna be an employee for at least 3 more years. Okay. And then also there's a pay incentive. For an associate degree, once completed, 75-cent addition per hour. For a bachelor's degree, $1 per hour, and for a master's degree, $1.25 an hour. So those are the highlights of this policy for our consideration.
We didn't have that on here as a resolution, did we?
No, it was just to, I think, to get it in front of us,
Okay.
and if there's discussion or.
I think it's a good idea to invest in our people.
I think it needs to go in the employee policy book.
Yes,
Yes.
which needs to be revised.
We're gonna be working on that in the
Okay.
new year.
Yeah.
There's a lot in it that needs,
Yes.
there's some contradicting things, there's some repetitive things, so we've all kind of talked in the office, like, we all need to sit down and be like, all right, let's just start from scratch. Kind of go from the beginning, go page to page and figure out what's gonna, be beneficial, and also a lot of clarity. I think that's, a lot of clarity, like, there are multiple things that we found that aren't in there.
So we can make that a FY25
Yeah.
project.
Policies that we have separate now, I think all of it needs
All
to be
policies.
in the employee policy. So there's one book for the
Right.
employee and not 20 separate policies. And then in the employee policy book, it says see sick leave policy, and that's it.
And so if you guys are of a mind to assent, then I could create a resolution for this for
Adam?
next.
The only thing I'd be curious about would be the amount. I could have sworn the federal limit on that was actually just under $6,000, but I could be wrong.
No, you were right, because I looked it up.
Yeah.
You had the figure right off the.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like $5,200.
Yeah, so I'll get clarity on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
No, sir.
All right. I've got approval of road estimate from the county. I want to explain what we're doing. Montgomery Road, Gorsuch and Ivy Ridge, those were all paved this year, and they have a process. It's an asphalt rejuvenator agent that's been recommended, and we did it on Trenton Road last year, 2 years ago, I think it was. I think it really does help give life to the asphalt, so we've included that in our road work. Duncan Run, we're going to tar and chip and fog over a 3/4 inch intermediate course, pave it. Robbins chip from Green Cook to County Line. Down at Harlem, Lakewood Drive, Mayfair Court would get 1.5 inch overlay with it's a fiber interlayer and pavement repair type material to give it strength on those 3 streets down there. Covan's gonna just get some crack seal. Like I said, Ivy Ridge was gonna get the rejuvenator too. The cost estimate is, $297,660. So I'm asking for, I'll make the motion. We approve this estimate and submit it back to county for $297,660. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
We'll sign this agreement here at the end of the meeting and, we'll get it back to them.
Hey, where'd the Green Cook widening end up? I remember you talking about widening the north portion of Green Cook.
Yeah, and the county, they put it in for OPWC and, for paving and repairs, but they didn't want to take on the widening part. I'm disappointed in that.
Mhm.
I thought that, we needed to do that, but, they didn't want to take on the task.
Got it.
Okay, now we're up to, Holly contract.
Update or on the,
All right,
on this, we on this?
Uh,
On the-
sorry.
Are we on the strategic plan or are we on?
Yeah.
this update? Okay.
Well, either.
Why don't you give an update? and
Give
then
the
we'll-
update and then roll into the plan.
All right, so update on activity, you did just receive the Trenton Road, overlay zone. Zoning district, the zoning commission met at their last meeting, they, recommended approval of that, and now you have your hearing set for January. We did prepare two additional overlays and one map amendment. That was also introduced to the zoning commission at their last meeting. But we need to have conversation on where we're going with that. Because zoning commission was concerned that didn't seem to see the urgency to move forward with those. So we need to have a conversation of where we're going with those two overlays and the map amendment to add area along Trenton Road to the county line road. So that's an update on zoning activity.
Okay, well, for my part, in my opinion, I would like to see the overlays go through the process. So when the strategic part that you're gonna be initiating, and we get to the, consultant to look down on things, they can inventory and see if we're on the right track with our overlays. That's my opinion.
I'm aligned with Dave on this one.
I'm opposed to Adam and Dave. So the overlays, and this is my fault in that I was not paying attention to the content of the overlays. And the overlays, one of them is an overlay for a medical park to the northeast of Central Village. And the other one is kind of up 605, aimed at cottage.
Neighborhood, we changed the name to neighborhood business.
Right. And the reason that I think this is inappropriate for us to work on at the time is when you go into a strategic planning process, one of the things that you want to be able to do is say to those that are strategic planning, the township is a blank slate in some respects. Definitely the overlays have been done to protect our borders as they should have been. But when we're looking at the interior of the township, there's not pressure for development in these areas at the present time. And we should, in my opinion, those who are imposing those design elements onto our strategic planning are doing so without the assent of the larger strategic planning community. And this is getting the cart before the horse when it comes to strategic planning. And it's allowing the concepts of a few to really dictate to the majority of the township what this is going to look like in some pretty significant areas. And so it was my opinion that you were going to be continuing to work on these during the strategic planning process. I was not aware that there had been put a rush on these. And so when I heard it, I was like, if they keep working on those for the next 6 months, that's great. Maybe that work will coincide and coalesce with strategic planning. However, now it's really in contradiction to the whole theme of strategic planning, and it's coming up with conclusions before we've worked on it, and so I'm very much opposed.
So, the one thing I would say is the one going up 605, is that one's in line with the quick strategy guide. So that
Understood.
one, I think if you kept moving forward with that, you would still be in line with your current strategy. And that would just, you would be reevaluating if that's what you want to continue with, et cetera. The medical center one, I don't believe is in line with your quick strategy guide. That was not identified in the quick strategy guide. So I don't know, that one moving along simultaneously with the strategic planning process, that would work, but I'm not sure moving forward with it in an expedited manner.
Why
is going to be the
move?
same.
So I guess my challenge to my peers is, what's the rush? Why move forward with either of these at the present time? Just ask the zoning commission, set them on the shelf, wait till the middle of next year. Let's see where we are. And if those are consistent with the conclusions that we've reached with strategic planning, just pick them up and finish the job. If they're not consistent, well, then you've saved yourself a lot of work. And you can come up with an overlay that's more consistent with where we land with strategic planning. I don't see the urgency at all to force this issue.
What did Trenton plan on their side of Trenton Road, west of 605?
They are still haggling over that area.
Okay,
We had it as industrial.
Okay.
There's been pushback on that. So we have another meeting at the end of December to continue that conversation. So that might be changing in that area.
okay. To me, that'd be something to consider on our 605 one that we're talking about to continue with that. Adam?
I mean, my position here, I mean, and again, I think the overlay district is something that started, before my tenure on the board. And so I have not found information that would push me toward a decision that thinks we need to about face any of that. Now, to your point, I call it ignorance on my part. I don't know where the medical center overlay came into the picture. I would kind of defer to the chairman when it comes to that. My principle is based purely on let's finish something we've already started, and then let's move on to the next thing. So, when I will not personally get hung up on a medical center overlay, I think it's just more or less the whole project. Like, let's get it done. Let's move on to the strategic planning, and let's establish where we need to go.
I would say at the least, of course, we have the Trenton Road one, there's just a map to add to that. That's pretty simple.
No issue. Yeah.
605 one,
You're in
I
line.
would say finish it. Medical center thing, I'm concerned, the comments that I got out of county, road widening is way down the road on their part. I think that's got to change if things southeast of us continue and blossom like it's supposed to, which you hear different stories every day. So you don't know which way the wind's blowing.
The county says road widening is at least a decade in the future.
Yeah, that's right. Of
They're going to be late.
course, ODOT's 10-year plan was no turn lanes at 605 and 37 also. They didn't know there was a problem there.
So what I'm hearing is go ahead with the Trenton Road map amendment. Go
Right.
ahead with the 605 overlay district. And then pause on the medical center one for the time being.
I guess. So where's that leave you with your,
Good with that, or do you want to?
I am good with that. I think we need to check for comments on that issue.
Joni?
I just wanted, and Mike can correct me, but I thought the reasoning from the zoning commission was that the 605 overlay and the medical overlay should both be subsumed into a center village district. So that we create an actual town center that those could be connected into.
Not what I heard.
That's kind of where we are on the zoning commission, I thought.
Well, where did you get that idea?
Yeah, and that's not
Yes.
in line with the quick strategy guide. We have the center village and then we have 605 coming out of that.
Okay,
And I would hope that this, and I probably can help me here, that a strategic planning process is going to get us all on the same page. That, and this is one of the needs for this, is to get us, the three of us, all agreed on what the strategic priorities are. And then as we work into the execution of all this, that we're all singing off the same sheet of music.
We were going by what we have heard from the public on what they would like to see is some sort of development in Center Village that could become an actual village.
well, that's what we've talked about since for 20 years, was Center Village would be, you know, developed and it'd be a walkable community and all that. I mean, we went through that with several different planners. You know, that was gonna be the concept, even back with,
It's still kind of expecting
Yeah.
what we've been hearing.
right,
And we do, and the quick strategy guide has the village center area. It just has coming out of 605 going up to Trenton Road is a different area outside of that center village. And what we're trying to do with the 605 is to start blending it out. So you have this more walkable area in center village, and then you have these neighborhood businesses building out to blend in with the single family.
Bob,
Yeah, I would venture to say if you have 99% of the number of residents and mention medical center, they look at you and say, what in the world are you talking about? Because as far as I'm concerned, nobody knows anything about.
It's nothing in the quick strategy guide
It's
about
not
it.
in the quick strategy, it's not in the comprehensive master.
I think, I don't know for sure, you probably know better than me. Did this come about because of discussion about medical services and trauma centers and so forth? I mean, Mount Carmel East was the main one, or Grant.
So it's my understanding that Jim has had conversations with external entities who have indicated that this would be a good place
Yeah.
for a medical center.
And my concern there is that if we drop something onto our residents that has not been well communicated, we're right back to where we were a year ago. And nobody wants to be there. And the beauty of the strategic planning process accompanied by a strategic communications process is that there are no surprises. And that's one of the things we really want to guard ourselves.
I agree. I think the medical center is just something that has not been any part of the conversation up until the last month when we were asked to. Right.
Well, that could be, down the road, that could be another overlay over top another one,
Yeah, and
very well.
yeah, we can do lots of different things.
Yeah.
And I think to John's Commissioner Trainer's position is that we'll work through that in that strategic planning process to determine that internal area. I mean, I think we've set the boundaries now. We've gotten the overlays along the boundaries of the township. You're got the TIFs in place. I heard you say that the Northeast TIF seems to be a priority to help button that area up. So now let's pause and reevaluate that center area and make sure we're going in the right direction, because we have 2 new trustees. We have a whole different landscape than what we had a year ago. We have the world, the central Ohio world has changed a lot in 3 years. I called your existing conditions, and your quick strategy guide, evolving conditions, because there is no such thing as existing conditions in Harlem Township. What exists today does not exist tomorrow. It's constantly changing. So we need to go back and look and see what that center area, as now that we have protection around the borders.
Mike,
Yes, thank you. I had wanted to get some clarification this evening with regard to priorities for the zoning commission in terms of what it is that we need really to address. And, you know, the discussion is helpful in that regard. What I'm hearing is, and as the zoning commission discussed what was presented to us, the idea of adding the map, extending that map,
Makes sense.
that seemed like a very appropriate, reasonable kind of thing, that we would look forward to moving that forward, as a priority. The other two, the one that seemed to be, as Holly described, it fits with the strategic planning that has been done. The other one did seem to be coming out of the blue in the sense of there was concerns, as Joni has expressed, in terms of why is this? And some of the same comments that we're hearing here tonight, same thing that was discussed initially. So as I would look ahead, then we also have, as I've been dealing with, as Dave is aware, that you other two gentlemen may or may not be aware, for the last 2 years, we started the process of looking at all of the existing articles in the zoning resolution and updating them and revising them to make sure that they were consistent with the revised code and the language was consistent as we adopted new overlays and set up new procedures in terms of how applications would come into and would be managed. So that process has been moving forward, but we're not finished with it yet. So the question for me, in terms of setting the priorities, then do we put that aside and not, because we have Scott Sanders coming in to work with us on that.
yeah,
We can set it aside if it's a higher priority to get these overlays addressed and dealt with at the commission level in terms of making a determination to move it forward. If that's the priority, then we can set the other aside, because trying to do both at the same time, it's a lot of review and examination on the part of all the zoning commission members, and then the discussion time that is spent on those. We don't want to rush through it. At the same time, we want to be able to do, as has been mentioned frequently, we need to do our due diligence with the process. Right now, in terms of planning an agenda for our next meeting, we were expecting to have Scott come in and deal with 2 of the articles that in some ways relate to the one article that would be relevant for Route 62. But we could put that on hold because they're really, we're talking about those 2 articles that are in the zoning resolution are straight districts for commercial purposes. C1 and C2 that are already on the books. But there is some relationship there with regard to the overlays in terms of the businesses that'll be permitted, because under the Route 62 overlay, which I have great detail.
605.
I say 62? I'm sorry, I'm at 605.
No.
My apologies.
We know.
I got the wrong road. We're not doing anything on Route 62.
We're thankful.
yes, really.
I wondered, thank you for pointing that out. No, I don't know why I got 62 on that brain, but it's 605, not 62. So it's Route 605, and it is in the master plan. We talked about that, and we, the original master plan, not the original. The one that we developed before the strategy got, which is still in effect. It goes from up 605 all the way up the trend, permitting commercial development. So I really would like to be able to, separate those two and not try to continue to do both at the same time. That is, deal with new overlays and do the revisions in, the existing articles. We could potentially set that aside until we finish whatever articles, the new overlay articles that we need to address and get that moved from the zoning commission to the trustees. And then we can come back and put our focus on the revision of the existing articles.
How long do you anticipate the articles?
Based upon what we have accomplished to date. We were doing it simultaneously as we're dealing with the new overlay districts that are coming in. If we are dealing just with the existing articles, we probably would complete the process in 4 to 6 months.
Okay.
But if we continue, we need to try to address the new, what would be Article 37, is that the one that is for Route
605.
605? Maybe it's because 6, but 605, and then changing the map, we can put that one on the agenda. Maybe we complete that and move it forward at the next meeting, then we can come back to the articles, if we're not gonna be dealing with any other overlays on an immediate basis.
It's gonna take more than one meeting for the 605.
I didn't say we'd complete it in one, I said maybe we can. I don't know what we're gonna be discussing it. And
Okay.
then we'll schedule a hearing.
Okay.
So there won't be a hearing in January on it.
Right.
The first hearing would be scheduled after we have that discussion in February. So we're talking about 2 meetings minimum. One, the meeting where Holly will come, I'm not sure if Holly's gonna be there.
I have it on my schedule to be there.
Right. So we'll have a discussion about it. People can ask questions. We've all got copies of it now.
Okay.
And then from that point, we would make a decision about scheduling a hearing. So if we schedule a hearing, that would end up being probably the first meeting in February. We can and then we can come back and start dealing with the articles at the February workshop meeting.
It sounds like it'll work.
Beg pardon?
I think that would
No,
be satisfactory.
Wanting it to fit in with what the priorities are as you're discussing them and you want to get things accomplished.
Well, and of course, we gotta take
We
into,
don't want to be in the way, we want to
uh,
help get that accomplished.
we gotta take into consideration, you're on Scott's agenda also. That to keep up with him, with his product that he's bringing you.
Right,
I don't, I know he's coming back at your January meeting, I think 13th, I think I heard you say.
yeah, we
Yeah.
were scheduled to do that on the 13th.
Yeah,
But that's something that in terms of if we choose to move it forward to the next month, I would inform Scott of that, and it gives him more time to work on it. I would like for him, though, if he is available, to attend that meeting, so we can also have some involvement with the discussion about the Route 605 overlay.
okay,
Because it's going to go to them, regional planning.
Right.
At some point,
right,
for them to review and give us feedback.
okay,
It's all, that happens with all items that come to the zoning commission,
Okay.
which we then make a recommendation for approval or denial to the trustee.
make that work.
I am ambivalent about this. The zoning commission was working on a task
Mm-hmm.
and now something has come in with a sense of urgency. I don't see the reason for the sense of urgency. And I would probably say to Mike, hey, just keep doing what you're doing and then pick up the overlay when you
Yeah,
get done.
the only bad thing of it is, Mike has stated it'd be 5 to 6 months time he
That's
gets done with Scott.
About the time we finish strategic. planning.
Yeah, and so then our audit, so to speak, won't be able to take place
Oh, yeah.
of the 605.
We would just have them look at the overlay it wouldn't be a
Well-
problem. So I'm ambivalent. I like that we've dropped the medical thing. I think it needed to be dropped. Hooray. And however we proceed, I'm good with.
Adam?
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably just harken back and a little bit of a trust on the zoning boards, right? To make to guide the ship in the direction that it needs to go based on what those priorities are. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I think the main focus is that the BOT has some alignment on where we want to see the overlays go as far as the timing of which. I think I would probably stand with my original comments, right? Like I'd like to see something get done that's already been started and been in process, rather than wait unnecessarily long for it. So, I don't know what that means as far as direction for your board, Mike, but I would just like to see them get done.
Well, what I'm hearing was we do go forward with the Route 605 overlay.
Correct.
The other one would be on the shelf for a while.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to revisit.
Other articles in the existing resolution that we're going to be revising.
Okay,
I'm good with that.
that works.
As am I.
Thank you, we needed that clarification.
Thank you
Now
for the
I've got another-
clarification. That really helps.
Sure.
All right.
Yes. it does.
Well,
I do have one other item.
Yeah,
and that
go ahead.
is relating to the other Article 36, which is the Trenton, which we did approve at our workshop meeting, because we recessed that hearing to that date. But I noted tonight that you did not set a hearing date for that one to come to you, because we did recommend at our workshop.
We did.
yeah, we did.
We did.
We did.
For Article 10, I'm sorry, application HTC 2410.
But
7:30.
on January 15th.
Yeah,
That's the one on the 15th. I'm
Yep.
thinking on the wrong number.
Well, the other one.
They're both on the 15th.
They're both on the
One said
15th.
Both on the
7:15, one said
15th.
7:30.
All right. I missed it. Thank you.
We got
I just
you.
wanted to
Okay,
make sure
thanks.
that, didn't overlook that one.
all right. Let's continue
That was
your,
at 7:30 or 7:15.
10 is at 7:30. I put them on the thing wrong, so there's back.
yeah,
So 11's at 15, 10's at 30.
All right. Thank you for the clarification.
Mhm.
So back
Proceed.
to strategic planning then?
correct, yeah.
Right, so last month we talked about a scope of work. I believe there was a general head nod of moving in that direction. Worked on a resolution and a contract for presentation tonight. It sounds like, based upon the conversation with the zoning work, that this will be in addition to our contract that we have for the zoning work. So I'm not really gonna reiterate everything that's in the scope of services and the timeline, because we talked about that at last month. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer.
And I did share that resolution that you wrote with both of the trustees. They've seen it in detail.
The only point I was going to bring up is it looks like we have a separate resolution that talks about Crossroads going into contract with Corral Communications.
Separate resolution.
And I'm wondering if this is just a policy procedure, like just a process issue on our part. Like I don't believe you are contracting them.
I would subcontract.
Yeah, so
So that
So we
it
don't,
does say that we approved the contract with Cryle for professional services as a subcontractor for Crossroads.
yeah, my point is I don't know that we need to approve that.
I don't think we do.
I don't think so either.
I don't think you need to do
Yeah.
that. I think we did talk about maybe having a separate resolution for the audit.
Which we do.
Okay,
Yeah, we
that's
do,
fine. I just
yeah.
wanted to make sure that wasn't getting confused,
Yeah,
so,
we-
yeah, I
we've
would
got
say
that.
you do not need the.
So when we approve the contract with Crossroads, it just automatically
Correct.
subsumes.
And even
Yeah.
in my contract, I say I will subcontract with Crowd Community,
Copy.
so you were agreeing to that.
It just came in like multiple.
So
Yeah.
I guess backing up a little bit,
Yeah.
taking the foot off the gas on the overlays, at least on the last one. What does that do to your contract with that? How we,
So that's what I was saying, and we're still moving forward with the Trenton Road, or map amendment and the 605.
Correct,
overlay.
yeah.
So there'll still be work and meetings to attend for that. So I believe that this would be a contract in addition to our current
Yeah.
contract that we have.
It just might not go to the end on the first
That's
contract.
fine. If we get done with those and we say zoning's done for a while, then we'll say at that point in
Just,
time.
yeah,
we're
just
done with
pause
that.
it.
Pause it. Yep.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Wanted to clarify that.
Yep.
Okay, gentlemen,
So I can.
Go for it.
I'll move to approve a contract with Crossroads Community Planning for the development of a Harlem Township strategic plan in the amount of $6,150 per month for 7 months for a total contract of $43,050.
Second.
all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried, approved.
And then
Doing Krill, but we're doing
I
professional.
will move to approve the hiring of a professional planner as yet undetermined for no more than $10,000 to review/audit the strategic planning process and products created by Crossroads Community Planning.
Second motion.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Well, thank you guys. I
Okay.
appreciate it. I look forward to starting the work. Do we want to talk about a date for January or is that? I'm afraid we'll get stuff on the calendars if we don't.
I think
We talked about January.
we talked
25th.
about the 25th.
Yeah, so I didn't know if that had been talked
That's
about with the broader group.
Yeah, that's a Saturday morning that later in the month. And that allows for public attendance, which I think is
Yeah,
crucial.
oh, definitely, yeah.
And what we 3-4 hours
Say
on a Saturday morning,
12,
8 to 12.
whatever works for everybody.
As a commencement, and then we would want to begin the strategic communications process, I mean, right away in January.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so getting Lindsay connected there with, is it Cryle?
It's Angela Cryle.
Angela Cryle,
mhm.
yeah, with Angela, I think early in January is very important. So that we can begin that communication.
Very good.
Is
So-
that,
so
is that adequate?
That's very adequate, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So everybody's good with the 25th?
Yes, we just make sure that gets on the calendar.
So what are we labeling it as?
Harlem Township Strategic Planning Initiation.
Okay.
Off the top of your head. that's-
Yeah.
But it's like strategic planning.
Initiation. We're gonna be working on strategic priorities for that meeting. And really the point of that meeting is for the trustees to agree on a set of strategic priorities.
Okay.
And so that's the purpose of the meeting.
What's the time on it?
I think 8 to noon is good.
8 to 12.
Yeah.
Like it.
We'll have a nice donut break in there.
Now, can I just put that on the calendar? Or does that need to be, it's not a hearing or anything, so it doesn't have to be public notice, just on the calendar so people know it's there. Yes,
Probably the more publicity, the better.
should I put it in
Some
the
sort of
paper?
notice.
We'll work with Cryle
Yeah.
and Lindsay, and we'll have a kind of a PR launch of this thing.
Okay,
This three of us gonna be there making decisions at the same time?
For
That's the
what?
intent,
For what?
the three of us to be there making
At this
decisions
meeting?
with the strategic.
Oh, yes.
So then
Then
it's
yes,
gonna
it
need,
needs to be
it
public
needs to be
meeting,
public.
yes.
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's kind of what I was asking, like, if you
Yeah.
guys are all gonna be there, it has to be
It has to be a
publicized in
public-
the
Yes.
newspaper.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so all.
I mean,
posted.
I
we
know.
can sit in opposite quarters of the room and not talk to each other, but I don't think that's what we're looking for.
Let's not do
I
that.
won't be in
I feel
attendance
like
for that.
that's
You will
the
not be in
objective of
attendance?
that.
5,000-mile thing.
Dave will be in Hawaii and he will attend by Zoom. It'll be, no, it'll be 10 PM his time.
I
Or
will
thereabouts.
show up to not allow you.
No.
Dude, it's 2 AM.
Backwards, yeah.
It'll be 2 AM his
Yeah.
time.
I will shut the meeting down so fast if you try to call him in Hawaii. I'm like, this is
Hey,
appropriate.
I've done that many a time.
Yeah.
Trying to have a cocktail, you leave
Yeah.
alone.
All right, I will let Angela know the 25th, 8 to 12, and then I will connect with you, John, at the beginning of the year. I mean, even at the end of the year, sometime before the beginning of the year, to get Angela and Lindsay and I together.
Great.
Okay. All right.
Okay, Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anything else that you need us for, or can?
No, I don't think.
Moose.
Thank you.
Alright.
And Moose.
I think we're good.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Administrative office, you wanna talk about your emblem?
Yes, so I have sent you guys a picture
Yes.
of the emblem. So the reason it had to be recreated in the first place, because I don't remember who asked, somebody asked about it. The image that was originally made, was not made in a way that it could be like enlarged or printed clearly or appropriately. So we're wanting to get decals on the maintenance trucks and also on the zoning car or vehicle, whatever you want to consider it. And also clothing. The maintenance guys are wearing clothing that was provided for them through other businesses. And we feel it would be appropriate for them to be wearing Harlem Township emblems as they're working for Harlem Township. Also, the zoning guys are going to different meetings and things like that. And I think it would be great for them to have Harlem Township on their clothing. If that's polos or pullovers or, you know, any of that, we're going to events. You know, if you guys are going to OTA, things like that, would be great to have things that say Harlem Township on them, like most townships do. So one of the big things on that is gonna be, getting that image to be a printable image. So the fire department has worked with Columbus Sign Works before, and Ray Thrash has actually been kind of helping me navigate them and going back and forth and getting an image that works. So
You have it? The image? Can you put it on the screen? If it breaks all the computers and TVs again, I'll take responsibility. You can put that on me.
Computer jammed up.
But yeah, so that is the intent essentially, is to, it's pretty much the one that we've already had going on. But they made it to where there were these teeny tiny little writings that I couldn't tell what it even said.
Mhm.
So when we enlarged it, it just looked like a blob underneath Harlem Township. Thing.
It's like a rebranding. That I'm familiar with. See if you feel okay. You're holding up. I hear you sniffing over there.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. And Ashley, there's a cost that's associated here in the motion. Is that just like for the creation of the logo?
Yes. Because the account that is there is also my account here.
How about
So
that?
it's
Okay.
Saying absolutely not. So that is the image, just with the big proof thing across. Essentially, all we took out was there were tiny little writings here that we literally couldn't see.
That's quite similar.
Yes, it is. It's
Yeah,
very
it
similar
is.
to that one. This is like the original old image, though. That we were trying to make it more streamlined,
I
less
gotcha.
stuff on it. There was originally a like piece of wheat right here. It was green. I don't know. It just looked like kind of like a booger on the screen. It just didn't look good. And
Technical
so
pop.
when I was talking to the guy from Columbus Sign Works, he was like, "Do we really need that tiny green spot?" I was like, "I think it looks better without it." We adjusted kind of height of the lettering, things like that.
Yeah.
This is what we came up with. It essentially looks just a streamlined version of kind of the original was right behind you. So the cost that's associated, that is just to create the image, and then it will give us rights to the digital copy. It will also give us rights to all printing. So clothing, decals, cars, stickers, anything that we have our dream set on to put that decal on, we would be allowed to through them. And then they could also edit and modify for us if we decide to change it up.
You guys have anything else on that?
No, I'm
Mm.
good.
Make a motion to approve the created Harlem Township emblem by Columbus Sign Works at a cost of $334.38 for full rights, printing and use.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carried. While we're talking about your department, months ago, you'd inquired with our web designer. Did they ever get back to you?
No, I've tried to get a hold of them a couple different times.
Is it the same company? Lisa, is it the same company Genoa had?
It's Revise.
Does Genoa have a way of getting a hold of them? Or
They
are
sent
you
me
trying
notification
phone call or
on,
online?
So everything's that I can try to find a number again. I even pulled up like our paperwork and I emailed a
But-
couple times. They're just not they're not.
I will say that Crowd Communications, I did talk to her about giving us help with our social media.
Yes.
And she is very willing, they specialize in this and they do it for other municipalities of coming on board and really helping our team, Lindsay, yourself,
Yeah.
to professionalize, streamline, get us where we need to be. And so I think that's going to happen.
And Lindsay and I actually met up to talk about our Facebook pages because we have two that I think one was created and then they couldn't figure out how to get into it, so they created a second one. But then we found out there's a third one, like a ghost profile just floating out there. We did finally figure out who has it and it's being shut down. It was nothing, bad. They
Nefarious.
just made it and then we're like, oh, we're actually doing a professional one. Yes, because we're a government entity and you can't just have your own profile. So we're getting that one shut down. So we do run two of them and Lindsay is helping streamline and combine those because we don't need to. So we don't need them for the public notices. I think that's why it was originally made, was because we didn't have enough spots that things were being posted in, but we're covered. So we don't need the two. So me and Lindsay have been working together on that. And then also we've discussed starting to work on the website in the new year to get it just looking nicer. I mean, it looks great. It really does. But there's some things that need to be put on, some things that can be taken off. I think things that can
Yeah.
just be a little more streamlined, even on like my end of having to post. It gets kind of,
Needs to be user
I
friendly.
was looking,
it's not very user
yeah, I was looking at Genoa's here a couple weeks ago and it just flows better, what they
Well,
have.
they just did a refresh
Okay.
with.
So I think we're going to
Hello, may I make a comment? Hey, it's Lindsay, by the way.
Hey, Lindsay.
Hey there. Just wanted to give you a heads up that for our February communications meeting, we planned to do an in-person audit of the website. And we're going to promote that in case anybody from the public wanted to come give their feedback on it and things that they think might be cumbersome, just because we don't get a lot of public attendance at our meetings, but they are available to the public. So we will be promoting that the February one, we will specifically be auditing and writing down recommendations to improve the website.
Okay, that sounds good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Great. And also, Lindsay, hope you caught that I'd love to have a meeting with you and Kryle and Holly here in January.
Sure did. I got it written down. Thank you guys so
Okay.
much.
I'll touch base with you on that.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Anything else?
that's fun.
Mike, we're gonna jump into you so you can.
All right, thank you very much. Just the two things on the agenda, resolution 24-121-8T-014. Approval for EMS 2024 rate increase. This is brought on by our billing company. It's pretty much an annual thing. Every year it falls in line with the Medicare increases. So it's I think it's a 10% increase this year to take effect on 1/1/25.
Okay.
So
Have a motion for that, guys?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Can we quickly correct Sorry, I didn't give you
one
the newest
four.
one. Can we correct the resolution number real quick?
Yeah.
It's 1-4, right?
He said 1-4, it's 1-6.
It is 1-6.
Yeah. Cause I had to. add
So it's
this
what's
too.
actually on our minutes.
Right.
So I
Okay,
just wanna make sure it's 1-6.
Got it.
in the
Yeah.
thing. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, that was,
Next one will be.
That's not your fault, that was my fault.
017, Mike.
say 1-7. I appreciate it. That was my fault, I didn't give you the update.
I noticed earlier I was missing something like, where is everybody?
where's
But
this?
okay, yeah, so.
He's like, this is why I don't come to meetings.
Right? It's like, this is my last one, I'm out of here.
Yeah. The second one is a resolution, 24-1218T017.
Thank you.
Approval to appoint volunteer firefighters dependency fund members. Those members to appoint would be Trustee Holiday, Trustee Trainer, Ray Thrash, Ian Soom, and Tom Vincent to be volunteer firefighters dependency fund members.
Tell me about the dependency fund, Chief.
It is a fund that we're required to be a part of because we are not a 100% full-time fire department. So this covers any members that are not a member of the Ohio Police and Firefighters Pension System. Should we have the unfortunate incident where we would have a casualty of a member, this is how they receive benefits.
And just out of curiosity, why are the trustees included in it?
I think, I believe Chief O'Brien just wanted to have different levels included as part of that committee.
Fair. Make a motion to approve the aforementioned appointments.
second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carried.
And one more thing, just to kind of give you a quick update on the building. We were hoping to tell you that the building was completely done as far as the painting and the stucco and everything. We thought they were coming out yesterday to finish it, but what they came out and did yesterday did not complete the project. So unfortunately, we chose to withhold the final payment until they do get out here. They did come out yesterday and touch up a little bit more stucco and filled one final crack. But then they did not paint over it. And now maybe next week, there's supposed to be some weather in the 50s again. They may, but in today's climate, I believe Lieutenant Thrash sent Lisa a message that said, we're not making that payment until the work is 100% because we'll never see you again.
Yeah, I agree.
But overall, I'd say it's 99% done.
Okay.
Fair.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, anything else for me?
I don't.
Take two, call me in the morning.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, zoning,
You like that?
Jim sent us all reports on his end.
I read that.
Okay,
Same.
we heard from Lindsay. We'll back up now here. Parks, Dave?
Dave Snyder, Beebleheimer Road, Harlem Township. Following up on the submissions we have for the Parks Planning Committee budgeting for calendar year 2025. The highest priority project for us for the coming year is the renovation of the restroom building in the community park. Acknowledging the trustees over many, many years have invested in the community park and in the upkeep of the restroom building, and the building is sturdy and it has reflected well the values of clean, health, safety that really fit well with the community. The interior, the bathrooms are in deteriorating condition. They are not reflective of these values. And we want to move forward with the project to put in a number of new facilities, add some services, make the bathrooms much more, I think, in line with current community expectations. We want to keep up with this. We want this bathroom building to last for a few more years here now, because it does reflect very much community values. We want to make sure of that. We are going to be contacting contractors, soliciting from them bids on the to revise, to add to go over the plans that we have for the restoration of the bathrooms in particular, but also to look at the whole building again and to see what can be done there that is, I think, responsible and will have a good deal of benefit for the cost. We will be getting back to the trustees with the where we are with establishing a contract and accepting a bid from a selected party.
So this improvements is what, just basically to pretty it up? You're not thinking of trying to insulate it or anything, are you? I mean,
we're going to start with yes, prettying it up, but it's more than that. For example, we're going to have changing stations attached to walls.
okay.
We need to get through somebody with structural architecture credentials to let us know, can it be for an adult, or are we really only going to be able to put up a baby changing station? But these sorts of they're not amenities. These are I think right in the middle of providing a service that is commensurate with the community values today. So making the bathrooms so that people can navigate within them. It should be. We need to make better use of space that is there. And yes, we do need to remove fixtures and put in new fixtures, these sorts of things.
Right.
So this is already part of the budget that the trustees looked at last week? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. And you're working in concert with Jason on these things?
Yes.
And you're really aiming at improvement or update with the mindset of replacement within a few years?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I do have one quick comment. I heard you mention the adult possibility of adult changing tables, which I think is amazing. I think that's something that a lot of places are starting to put in for, parents of larger children or family members that have larger individuals that need to be changed in public places. My only concern with that would be that the parking lot is not ADA compliant with the gravel. And wheelchairs and things like that. If they're needing a changing table, they most likely would need a wheelchair. So I would look into the legalities of that, just because I don't know that you can place something like that if you don't have access to get to it.
This is something that Jason is very attuned with.
Yeah.
He's very
I know that's
knowledgeable.
something you could definitely look at, but that's just something that I thought about. If you're wanting to put the larger changing tables, that might be something that you have to kind of look into. And we put them if they can't be accessed by the people that need them, kind of
You
thing.
can actually use a paved area from the front parking lot all the way to the restrooms.
Okay, so that would just have to be.
Lisa, you had something?
Yes,
Parking.
Jason had
Paid
talked about that at the budget meeting.
Yes.
Yes.
And we are working on, we
Yeah.
started several years ago, working on the plans. Exactly this, to have designated parking on hard surface that ties right into the asphalt. So we can handle these sorts of things, where we're moving that direction
Which would be
as
amazing.
fast as we can.
I would just
Thank
make
you.
sure
Yeah.
that, you can put that there before those are placed. I just know there's so many like
Yeah.
ins and outs and laws and things that you have to follow, so I didn't
Right.
want us to get into murky waters with that.
I just,
Anything? Go ahead.
I just commend you on the work that you did on the budget, the committee, the work you did in particular. I think just outstanding job and lots of forethought and looking down the road that helps us as a team make good decisions. I think it frees you up to make decisions, and Jason has come along, I think, and is doing yeoman's work to come alongside, and I just really appreciate the work that's been done to date. Thank you. Thank you, Couch.
The sequel will be coming to you tomorrow. But that's a different story.
Copy.
And second, America 250, we are working on developing the plans, especially for the Revolutionary War veterans graves. We want to set up, I am hoping that in Harlem Township, we will have 6 open house days where we invite people to come to the cemetery to see, in particular, the Revolutionary War veterans graves over the span of the next 24 months. And, you know, this is going to require that we work together on things like cemetery etiquette. We want to have the plans laid out, exactly what we're going to be doing on this. We're going to be developing handouts so that people have written information that they can take home on these sorts of things. For example, we're going to have signage up there that gives some information about the veterans, but also signage that tells what row you're on and gives people an orientation to this. These need to come down, and we need to be consistent and with these sorts of things, but we're working on these level of plans. And we're hoping that we'll have the assistance of the trustees in as we get to the point of beginning to print out and compile the brochures that tell people what's there in the cemetery, these sorts of things. So this is all what is in the works and will be coming to you here in the next few months.
Okay. Lisa?
Columbus Sign Works is wonderful to do outdoor signs.
Okay, got
And
it.
they're already set up as a vendor. And then the printing that Lindsay gets the newsletter, that would probably be a good vendor because we're already set up. And then we could smooth line it, but Columbus Sign does our fire prevention signs, banners for outside.
And they're also
And
doing
Aaron is
our,
really easy to work with. He is wonderful.
and he communicates very quickly. He's the one that did our logo that just got voted on, and he's doing
Yeah.
the stuff for the cars, the emblems for the cars.
Yeah, he does. I've known Aaron for years from Genoa.
He's
He's
super,
fantastic.
super responsive. Or,
Yes.
yeah, he's just like right off the bat.
Yeah.
It gives back to you.
So just FYI, if you
Thank
need
you.
banners or signs outdoors, he's.
Thanks, Dave.
Anything
Thank you.
else? Thank you.
Mm.
Back up on, we did the road repair estimates. Jason's reported he's had 2 snow events. He's salted. Had 2 burials. He's working on tree pruning for next spring. Grange Hall's had the new roof put on as of yesterday. The new refrigerators are in place in the kitchen, so everything's good to go there, hopefully.
You
Anybody?
got 2 new ones.
Yeah,
Oh.
2 new ones. Yeah. Anything else from the public?
Thank you all who helped with the Winter in the Park. It was a terrific event. We had tons of people come.
Okay.
Everybody loved it.
Okay, good.
All the cemeteries have a swag on them.
Yes.
Yeah. Gentlemen, you have anything?
No, sir.
I just, a brief update quickly
Okay.
on strategic planning for the
Okay.
region.
Okay.
Just because I think it's important that people know, and I have a document for each of you. I have engaged each of the Delaware County Commissioners about the idea of regional planning. That is, that they look at the southeast corner of Delaware County, and the county initiate a planning process for this region. The primary stakeholders in that are Galena, Sunbury, Genoa, Harlem, Trenton, the county, and Big Walnut schools. Secondary stakeholders are Columbus, Johnstown, New Albany, Westerville, Jersey, Monroe, Plain, Franklin, and Licking County. And then you have tertiary. You have Morpsey, One Columbus, Delaware County Departments, Delco, OEPA, ODNR, developers, et cetera. And really, the key is getting those primary stakeholders around a table to begin talking to one another under the leadership of the county. And had opportunity to also engage some of them, met with the mayor of Sunbury, along with the Delaware County Commissioner last week. Very, very positive and very much wanting to be engaged in this process. The county has to be willing to give resources to this. Tracy Davies is the one that's kind of suggested to provide leadership. Others, you know, she's going to need a development team around her. And so after Christmas, we'll get together and kind of see what that looks like as far as giving resources to this. But I think that there is, to this point, some momentum behind the effort that I think as that's occurring, kind of consistent with what we're doing as a township, there's some synergy, I think, that can take place there. That would be very helpful. And again, for us, I think the process is more important than the products. That is the relationships that are developed, the trust that's formed versus perhaps some of the mistrust that exists, a collaborative spirit versus an adversarial spirit. I think all of those are benefits from having these key people sitting around a table together for a few months, thinking about the region and hearing from subject matter experts that speak to it. So I think that by January, we should have some concrete idea about whether or not that the county is going to move forward with this. And then we're just participants at the table. So I'm excited about the possibilities there. So I wanted to just provide that update.
Yeah, I've got a question. So you guys are not gonna vote on Brittany being in the zoning commission for 2025?
That'd
Or
be at the
Bill?
organizational meeting.
Okay, because I put them on there.
I know.
Okay.
Mm.
And their dates. So. And then somebody else wanted to start getting paid. Like, who was that? I can't remember. There's been so much going on.
Was it Louis Greenwell?
I think it was.
Yes, it was Louis.
And I put him on as being paid in zoning, so I don't know if you guys need to approve all these prior to
I have them on.
approving the exhibit.
They're not gonna meet until after we meet, commission.
Okay,
They moved
So
all
we're
their
good.
meetings to be after our reorg.
okay,
So,
so we're all good then.
yeah, we should be covered there.
All right. thank
Other
you.
years we have done it in December, but it didn't happen this time.
Okay.
So. Gentlemen?
No further business?
Okay, well, I just want to say that, it's been quite a year. We started out with different guys here at the table, and we picked up Adam about April, I think. And when did you start, John?
I think June.
June, okay. And, we picked up Ashley. What month did you start?
August.
August, okay. Maintenance guys, we got new guys, brought Jason on early, and then Bill in the summer, he was part-time, and when Otis retired, he became full-time. So we've got a good staff here, and I really appreciate all their efforts. So we look forward to next year. So with that, I'll take a motion.
I have a motion to move into executive session.
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
There's one here. And Mike, I'm going to invite you to this session, okay? Mike Kapler. Do you have a few minutes?
Executive session? tonight?
Yes. So I'm going to move. So I'm going to move to executive session at 9:16 PM to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against the public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual, unless the employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual requests a public hearing by Division G1 of Section 121.22 of the revised code. And I invite Mike Kapler to that meeting.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Jackson.
Aye.
Holiday.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No,
This one.
hopefully not.
Fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
I'm gonna,
Can we take them with us?
I'm gonna take them with me. This won't be.
Go ahead.
Forget to
Yeah, so I'm
move to.
going to move that we come out of
Yeah, go ahead.
executive session.
Second.
Second. Roll call vote.
Jackson.
Aye.
Holiday.
Aye. Aye. And then I would like to move that we, beginning in FY 25, begin to pay the members of the zoning commission and the members of the Board of Zoning Appeals $40 per meeting.
Well, now you're gonna have to do from December the 1st.
From December the 1st, thank you. From December the 1st, 2024 to November the 30th, 2025. $40 per meeting.
Second the motion.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carried.
We'll get it changed on the executive.
Okay.
Exhibit 1.
Okay, thank you.
No further business. I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned, 9:30. Do you have a minute book that needs an autograph? Ashley?